another week of the Minority Report. I'm Marlon David, your host. And as per usual, we have a lot of things that we're going to be discussing, a lot that is happening in and around Tobago. So many things, so many people just sending information and having conversations and so on. And it all culminates here on the Minority Report every week in studio. I want to thank you for really being with us and staying with us. Every week we see our numbers in terms of those who are viewing the show really up there. And it's a testimony of what is being done here, the fact that the information that we provide, the conversations that we have are conversations that really interest the general population, and it continues to provide a beacon of hope to those who are not in a position to have the information for themselves. Tonight will be no different. But before we go into our discussions, as per usual, we have to handle the administrative matters. For those of you who are viewing us, the Minority Report, and you want to know which other platform, if you may not have one available, you can look at this program on the Tobago Updates website. You can also view the program on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. I know some persons, actually just today, someone said that they were looking at YouTube because they didn't have access to anything else. So you can view the program on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. You can also view this program on the Tobago Updates Facebook page. And many of you, I know, love this particular medium because it gives you the opportunity to also share your comments, to participate in the conversation while the program is going on, and to even give your recommendations to things that may be ongoing or discussions that we may have started. So the Tobago Updates Facebook page is also very much active and available for viewing. For those of you who are subscribed, however, to the Amplia Network, you like to sit in your living room, put your television on and so on. A good news came a couple months ago when the Amplia Network took, or formed, I should say, the partnership with Tobago Updates. And now you can view all Tobago Updates programming on channel 102. That's channel 102 on the Amplia Network. And if you are also logged on tonight and you have your television on the Amplia Network, you can also just turn to channel 102 and view the Minority Report. Happy Tobago Day. We are still, I know, very much in the heights of those celebrations, coming off of an award ceremony and so on last evening. But I want to take the opportunity from us here at the Minority Report to really wish all of Tobago happy Tobago Day. And a lot happening around this time. We saw a number of activities taking place over the last couple of days. And, you know, I really just want to join with so many persons in wishing Tobago a happy Tobago Day. And I trust that as the years go by and Tobago continues to grow and to become more and more mature in the managing of its affairs, that Tobago Day would be something that has the significance that would attract energies and persons and interests from all over the globe. As we see even now, a lot of interest over the years would have been paid. But again, in everything we give thanks, but in everything we always strive to achieve much more. So happy Tobago Day to those of you who have not heard it just yet. I want to also take the opportunity to congratulate those who would have been awarded the various medals, so to speak, coming out of the award ceremony last night. A number of persons, a number of our senior citizens, persons who would have made immense contributions to the development of Tobago in various sectors: education, tourism, agriculture, infrastructure, and the list goes on, creatives, that kind of thing, music, and it takes everyone's contribution to build a society. It takes all persons involved and all the minds on the table. And I would also quote even Dr. Vanesh James, in an interview recently. He said that Tobago is for everyone. You cannot run or govern Tobago effectively by putting some aside and only using some. And it was good to see a number of persons being able to be honored that way, as per usual, as has been customary over the years. We've seen persons honored from time to time, making significant contributions. And it serves as an encouragement as well for many other individuals who are also in service in different areas to really strive to achieve so much more. And, the reward often comes much later down. But I think the gratification that is instant is when there are persons who are directly impacted by the service that you offer to your community and to the society. Yeah, folks? So this evening, I want to begin introducing my guests in studio who are here with me. And I'm going to do the rounds of introductions. And then we're going to go for a short break, pay some bills. And when we get back, we are going to get right into the meat of the discussion. As a matter of fact, I'm hearing that we should go to the break first. The technical team is telling me, let's go to the break. And then when we get back, we'll do the rounds of introduction. So get your phone out, message, WhatsApp, text someone, tell them, hey, the Minority Report is on. And boy, oh boy, we have a show tonight. We are up on 2-year anniversary, and we are going to be delving into quite a number of things this evening. So stay locked on. Make sure everybody's in front of their television, and we'll be right back.
This Christmas, speed is on us. Get up to 300 megabits per second of speed with our new Link Up Plus plan. Enjoy more speed, more channels, and free streaming for less. Plus, introducing Link Up More with up to 1 gig download speed. Download, stream, video calls, share memes, and more. Get free installation when you sign up in-store or online today at discoverflow.co.
Hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat.
Oh, this is so stylish and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can't beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development has relocated its Crown Point office to Glen Road in Scarborough to better serve you, our clients. Our main office is located at the corner of Glen Road and Glen Road Branch Number 1, the building formerly occupied by Costat. Our grant and electrical inspectorate services can be accessed at number 2 Montessori Drive in Glen Road, Building 1 and 2.
But this place so boring enough. We don't even do nothing. Let me go somewhere now.
I really want some new things, yes? Then look no further. Portmore is the place for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can have anything that your heart desires. Take a look for yourselves. A world of endless opportunities. Feeling hungry? Go get something to eat. Books and stationeries, games, and much more. Portmore, the island's beat.
Well, folks, we are back in studio, and as I promised, I'm going to get into my introductions, and I know everyone would also give their congratulations and so on with respect to the Tobago Day and Tobago Day awardees and celebrations. So the lineup tonight is as follows. At my immediate right, and I'm going to go, that is clockwise around the table. At my immediate right, I have the minority counselor, always calm in the midst of a storm, always with a peaceful disposition, minority counselor Petal Daniel Benoit. Welcome this evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Marilyn. Good evening to you, minority leader, Senator Lawrence, and all of you tuned in to another episode of the Minority Report. Thank you again for always staying locked on. And I also want to extend my congratulations and happy anniversary, Tobago House of Assembly. We celebrated Tobago Day yesterday, 43 years. It is a milestone. And of course, we had the Tobago Day Awards, and there were some popular faces. We extend congratulations to Senators Mrs. Hislop, Senator Lawrence's mother, and there were some other familiar faces. Congratulations, Teacher Anne Benoit, and I think also Auntie Patsy, as we fondly call her, Patricia McCain Williams, deceased. She would have received, and all the other awardees, we want to extend our congratulations. As well as our young people, I think they showed up and showed off yesterday in the Parliament.
Definitely.
So congratulations to all the youths, and of course, particular mention and reference to the youths of Tobago, and of course, Miss Jada. Jada Charles, as well as Luke, and all the other, Denisha Manning, and all the other young people who would have participated. You have done us proud. You did well. Continue to reach for the stars. So congratulations to you all.
And to her immediate right, we have the man himself. You know, when you're in cricket, you have some star batsmen that's open, but sometimes the man who come in one down is number 3. that is a dangerous player in the game. So we have Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, minority leader in the house tonight.
Let me say good night to our moderator, Marilyn, Councillor Benoit, and Brother Lawrence Hislop, your esteemed panel, to our viewers, our listeners, our supporters, well-wishers. Good night and welcome to you as well. I want to also join in extending congratulations to all awardees that were recognized last night at the Tobago Day Awards. You know, it is one of those, you know, sometimes there are controversy as whether the persons are deserving, but when you view the list, they were all Tobagonians who would have served and served Tobago well. So I want to congratulate each and every one, of course. Brother Hislop, I want to congratulate your mom. You know, we all know her in the education field, and we know that of her contribution. So well deserved, and please extend on behalf of the Minority Report team, the Office of the Minority Leader, our congratulations as well. So we look forward to a very vibrant show, a show that will have some really interesting discussions. So over back to the moderator.
Well, I mean, it's just now to go through the formalities to introduce the final guest in studio.
The man himself.
The man himself, who I like to call sometimes my co-host, Senator Lawrence Hislop, and everybody extending their congratulations to you this evening. So you have the ball.
Thank you, Marlon. Good evening, Tobago. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Minority Councillor, my good friend Petal, and Minority Leader. He has now classified me as his big brother. Lord of mercy. The reality is that I never had a little brother. Being the last of 4 boys, I was always the little brother. Yeah, so the Minority Leader has now classified me as big brother, and I do embrace it. I do embrace it wholeheartedly. We did have a good thing going. And I want to join with everybody in congratulating, wishing Tobago, the island of Tobago Day. When it was started, there was a lot of pride that, as we know, we as Tobagonians have in who we are as Tobagonians, as we like to say, our Tobago-ness. And so it's really gratifying to see the Tobago Day celebration continue, the awards as well continue, and congratulations I extend to all the awardees last night. As the Minority Councillor mentioned, you had people like Bertil Sinclair, Coach Sinclair, and Terry from Phoenix, and also Miss Sebro, and these people are people, Miss Beach as well. And Gerard Franklin. These are people who I believe are truly well deserving of recognition of the awards. Even Mr. Richards as well, who would have served in the public service for a number of years. And I could never leave out my mother. Well deserving, 50 years in education, and she still continues, even though we try. We recognize that we are going to lose that battle trying to get her to retire. She's still teaching, still at it, still in the classroom, just because she has this level of passion for children, passion for education, and what is critical for her is seeing children who may not usually succeed in the regular school system. That's where her focus is, to try and get these children as well to succeed. So yeah, tonight, look forward to a magnificent program. Bumper to bumper. We have a full panel with papers out too. I'm expecting something significant tonight. So I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here once again. And just before we move on, just to touch on what Petal treated with the young people, I was happy that I was part of that yesterday, being a judge of the debate and seeing 7 young Tobagonians stand out in the National Youth Parliament, and just to all of them were good, but there were 3 significant. The Minister of Education. Her name doesn't stick with me. She has a very unique name. And Jada as well, who ended up being the top debater. And Luke, who was the Attorney General. And to see all our young people, Denisha and the 2 members from Tobago who were on the opposition bench as well, to see them well, 3 on the opposition bench, see them stand out and make their contributions. I felt really, really proud, not only as a parliamentarian, but more so as a Tobagonian, to see that 7 of our young people went to Trinidad, gave an excellent account of themselves, and we look forward to great things happening from them and for them. Yeah.
Great, and I join with you in that. I did in fact vote. It was difficult to vote in terms of the people's choice, and when everybody, you know them all, and everybody saying, hey, don't forget to vote for me. So I just put all the numbers in a thing and just close my eye and pick one, and I voted the people's choice from that.
Let me also join in, because the office of the minority was well represented as
yes.
well.
Yes,
so
I was trying not to let it out.
Representative, well, not representing the office of the minority, but of course working with us with the OJT program, Miss Denisha Manning. And always excellent in terms of presentation, well researched, and it was really impressive for me in terms of the wealth of research that went into what was presented by all the presenters. I also enjoyed the Attorney General.
Yes, Lucas on fire.
And funny enough, I saw a lot of me in him in a certain kind of way, you know. I really enjoyed it. He brought a little different kind of spice,
flavor,
flavor to the whole.
So it really was great seeing so much coming forward out of the young people, the youth of the island, and again it puts pressure on those who stand ahead to set the right example. Because when you have young people who would sit and observe you and then go to that level and perform that way, you want to always be mindful of the path that you leave for them to follow. You know, so well done, guys. Folks, tonight we have quite a lot to put into this program, a lot of discussions. And as we all may remember that fateful day, as God would have it, and I say it that way deliberately, today marks 2 years since this administration took office, and we have been continuously looking at what has been taking place on the Minority Report. As you all know, we have continued to present the information. The minority leader and minority councillor have been in the House doing their job, carrying out the mandate to hold this administration accountable. But what have they really accomplished? And we want to look at that from the basis of the standards that they set, the things that they indicated that they are going to do, what they would have received, how they would have reprioritized themselves, and so on. And so we're going to be looking at a sort of review tonight on every sector, and at the end of which we're going to be giving a grade. So as the minority leader indicated last sitting, a remedial class has started. So we can say that this is the impact program on the minority side to address those who need the remedial classes. I think we also have coming in, they're going to indicate shortly, our final guest who is going to be logging on. They'll indicate to us when he is on. So minority leader. The man.
Yeah, political leader.
Welcome, political leader.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Audio.
We have no audio, guys.
You all hearing me?
Yes.
Right. Good evening again to my fellow panelists and, of course, the viewers and listeners of this very popular program in Tobago, the Minority Report. It's a pleasure to be here as usual.
Thank you, and it's always a pleasure having you logged on. While I was waiting on the technical team, man, very well poised and ready to go on the screen, man. So folks, as we were saying, we are going to be doing such a review, and I'm going to be passing the ball in between, but Minority Leader, we know that, I really want you to kick this off. You are the one that stands in the house, and you interact a lot with them. I know the political leader as well pays keen attention to what is being said as opposed to what is being done. So we want to begin to take a look at some of the things that would have been said. We know quite a bit of projects and initiatives were spoken of. I would pass it over to you as you lead us through this remedial class here tonight.
So good night again, everyone. And what I want to say to outline to fellow Tobagonians, this administration campaigned on the premise of let us fix this. And let us fix this was a clarion call to Tobagonians to say something was wrong and we need to treat with that thing that is wrong. And also indicating that I have the ability to do the work, to fix whatever was wrong. One of the other things that they would have told Tobagonians is that the PNM over the last 20 years spent $40 billion, and they were asking the question, what have they done with that $40 billion? And the PNM could have probably answered and said, we built health centers, we built recreation facilities, we built hospitals, we built police stations, highways, everything. Byways. We opened up Tobago, we provided scholarships to the young Tobagonians so that we allow Tobagonians to really have that human development and potential. We provided grants to Tobago businesses, so we started to build out the Tobago private sector. In the tourism sector, we provided hundreds of millions of dollars in support to our hoteliers, to ensuring that we had the kind of product development to our sites and attractions. And you look at agriculture, we provided support. We started to build out, agricultural access roads so farmers can access places where they couldn't access before to farm. And then you had the farmland program coming on and so forth. So the PNM could have probably recorded what it had done with the $40 billion. I want to put that into the context of now. This administration came in between the 2021-2022 period, where we got an allocation of about $2.375 billion. And they also benefit from the last allocation, which was the 2022-2023 period, where we spent over $2.521 billion. And remember, we got an additional $100 million. So it was really $2.621 billion. So that is about, if you do your maths, that is already $5 billion. And they are now going to benefit 2023 from another $2.5 billion. So when it's all said and done, by 2024 of September, they would have spent $7.5 billion. And at the end of the term, if you go with the trajectory and go on the premise that we get around 2.4, 2024 into 2025 and perhaps 2025, they would now have over $12.5 billion to spend within their period of existence, their term. And the question we have to ask, we have seen $5 billion of it spent. Yet we have seen Tobagonians crying out for not being paid on time. We have seen Tobagonians crying out for not getting basic stuff as a food card. Can't even get a $500 food card. We have seen, and we're going to go into it, the scorecard, where they, after they got their allocation, so it's not about them presenting a wish list to the Minister of Finance, but they getting their allocation. They sitting down, looking at what they were allocated, and then deciding we are going to make these things our priority. We are going to spend this money, the money that we have, after we pay everybody that is on our payroll. This is what we are going to prioritize as the things that we believe are important for Tobago's development, and this is what we're going to do as the deliverables, the things we're going to deliver to Tobago. And when you do the evaluation, when you do the math, you would recognize that 3/4, less than 25% of the things that they said they would do with this $2.5 billion, they were unable to do. And some of the things are simple, mundane things, you know. Simple lighting a playing field, which P&M lit over 12 to 13 playing fields in the span of a 2-year, 3-year period. They have failed to even light one playing field. Something as simple as the Secretary of Settlements boasted and laughed the P&M. We only built 100 homes in 20 years, he said. You know, after 2 years, he has not yet built one, even though as a matter of priority, he listed that he was going to build 75 of them down in Shervan Road. And then he would build some in Bacolet. And when we asked him, but how are you going to do this? He told us, watch me work.
Yep.
Well, we're watching him work. And at this point, he ain't working at all. So the point is, after telling Tobagonians, we will fix this, we can fix this, they have shown an inability to treat with the basic needs of the Tobagoan population. They have shown an inability to treat with even the things that they promise to fix. And the question therefore is, where has the $5.21 billion gone? What have they really fixed? And who are they fixing?
So we're going to approach this systematically. We're going to take a look at some of the projects that they would have indicated that coming out of 2022, going into 2023, that these are the things that based on the allocation we've gotten, and the public must understand, and I want to make it clear, that as the minority leader said, it's not a wish list. This is based on what they would have been allocated, and then they sat with the allocation and said, these are the things that we know we can accomplish in 2023.
Right. Yeah.
So we would look firstly at the emergency road restoration program. Now, I know, Minority Leader, this is a pet peeve as well for you. We saw the Castara area, for example, that has not yet been completed. For those who traverse the north side, if you pass there, that I think that area is even worse now to travel along.
So, and I would allow the other, but let me say this from the get-go. This emergency road, and I say it without contradiction, this road restoration project is fraught with corruption and breach of the procurement regulations. And I say this because we were told that this involved a cadre of over 40 contractors. And then only to find out that one contractor that is not from Tobago was awarded 2 contracts. And all you are asking, as much as we continue to ask and pry, what was the process to award that contractor 2 contracts? And what is even more curious, after being awarded 2 lucrative contracts, the contractor pulled out.
Well, no, the question I have to ask, this is highlighted as emergency road restoration. And I don't know if the roads were identified or what roads were identified to be restored, or is it that these are the new roads that were done for that were considered critical? Was there a distinction between?
No, those were the same carnival roads
that are highlighted as emergency road restoration.
Yes.
Remember, it's a conversation that we continue to have in the Minority Report, particularly when the Chief Secretary came last October Carnival, October Carnival 2021, and indicated that they had to proceed with these works because it was an emergency to have them completed.
Yeah.
And we have seen a year later, 2 carnivals have passed, and the roads that were deemed an emergency, many of them are incomplete, have not started. And fast forward to 2023, we now ask the question, as you're saying, what is the emergency? What was the real emergency?
Right, and the reason I'm confused is because it says restoration. It doesn't say new construction. And so that's why I'm asking if within the executive council itself there was a conflict as to what works we were doing, because if we remember at the media review, the monies that were allocated at the media review was for road restoration after the bad weather that we had, in terms of roads being damaged and because to this, I always talk about this Idlewild Road. I don't know if it's in your district. And there is a piece of the road that has that has slipped away, going on 2 years now. And to me, especially for the persons coming out of Likoto, Golden Lane, Likoto, Providence, that's a critical artery to get into Scarborough. And it is also dangerous, especially at night.
Very much so.
And to this point, all you have there is a caution tape. And to me, you're focusing on trying to build out new infrastructure. And in all honesty, as a government, you have to do both.
And
we have the political leader as well, waiting to comment.
Let us bring in political leader.
Technical director, we have him. All right, good.
You all hearing me?
Yes.
Right, well, I think the problem with the road resurfacing or the road restoration program, because it's 2 separate programs, but they do more or less the same thing, is really wickedness and bad mind. Because the roads in Tobago are in its worst state that it has ever been in my lifetime. Right? Everywhere you traverse across Tobago, it's riddled with potholes. There are a number of areas where the road has failed due to landslides and it's simply not being repaired. And the wickedness and bad mind that I'm talking about is a situation where all of us are aware that the major road resurfacing contractors on the island, they have all been sidelined. Contractors with the expertise, contractors with their own plans to produce the asphalt necessary to pave roads, contractors with the experience, with the manpower and everything else that is required, they have all been sidelined completely. No jobs, no roads to pave. They are not even getting paid the monies that are owed to them. So all this administration had to do upon getting into office was simply to continue what existed before.
Correct.
A relationship between the THA and Tobago business persons, Tobago contractors who have existed in Tobago for years. They simply had to continue that relationship, provide payments to the contractors, and mobilize those contractors to continue to treat with road resurfacing and road maintenance on the island. But instead of doing that, in an effort to spite those contractors who they labeled as P&M contractors, in an effort to destroy them, they ended the relationship, literally blacklisted these persons, right? So while the roads in Tobago continue to deteriorate, this administration chose to prioritize the construction of 2 new roads, right? Initially, they gave out approximately $300 million in contracts. All the contractors were selected from a particular place in Trinidad without the experience, without even being registered in the THA, which is a requirement of our procurement policy. So they chose to spend that money in that way. The road of Blamey Road, I think the contractor so far has been paid about 50 to 60% of the $25 million value of that project, of that contract, and that project is not even completed. right? We saw the one in Dutch Fort, $19 million. Then there's the one which they flagrantly breached the laws of Trinidad and Tobago and ended up in the courthouse with the EMA as a result, $60 million there. So they are prioritizing that, prioritizing their friends from Trinidad, ensuring that they are getting the big contracts to do those roads as unnecessary as they are. Meanwhile, they are victimizing the Tobago contractors, not paying them, blacklisted them, and at the same time, the roads in Tobago are in its worst state that I have ever seen the roads. And it is simply about wickedness and spite. There is no other explanation for the current circumstances.
Thank political leader, and let me toss this out for the panel here, because apart from the road issue and the restoration and those new roads, the other areas that were cited under the Division of Infrastructure and Quarries to be addressed were the jetty at Plymouth and Cove, the jetty at Palatuvier, construction of a mini mall in Charlottesville, hard court in Goodwood, Shore Park Recreational Ground and Cultural Complex. And all these things were cited to have been done by the second quarter.
And this is after
So therefore, the rate of delivery
they would have
of this particular division, the rate of delivery of this particular division is, I mean, if you do the calculation, it's actually less than 5%, the rate of delivery.
Yeah,
failure.
Exactly,
right?
Absolute failure.
And this is
So
after
that
they would have gone into
so far
retreat.
has been a
After
failure.
the budget was read, they went into their retreat, similar to what would have been done some weeks ago, or a month or so ago, and came back to the house to do their reprioritization and identify the projects
based on the actual allocation that they received.
Yeah.
And
So none of these things were delivered not for the entire year. It was supposed to be by the second quarter, but they never made it past that.
The question begs, if infrastructure is one of the most important divisions, and it is also one of the worst performing divisions at this point in time, right? Led by a secretary who on several occasions has found himself operating roguely in contradiction to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. Why has that secretary not been replaced? That, I think, is a question that the people of Tobago need to ask, especially in circumstances where more than a year ago, this chief secretary, I'm sorry I have to say, but this very loyal chief secretary promised the people of Tobago on more than 2 occasions. I remember it was Liz Williams who interviewed him just before the end of 2022. And he promised that in a couple weeks, there would have been a reshuffle of the THE executive. When Liz tried to press him for a specific date, he said something about logistical challenges. And if you have a very critical division performing this badly, where the rate of delivery is less than 5%, and a secretary who has presided over several scandals, several very embarrassing scandals that actually cost the taxpayers money, the stage in the sea, right? The road to friendship that went before the court. We are yet to find out how much that cost us in the court. Recently, we had the 40 contractors, which turned out to be a big fat lie. It turned out to be about 6 contractors, right? A totally corrupt procurement process, right? To spend $300 million of our resources. In addition to that, most recently, we had the private jet fiasco, and that secretary presiding over all those scandals and leading the most underperforming division. Then again, I might be going ahead of myself, because there might be other divisions performing worse than him, right? But the fact is that the division is performing poorly, yet that secretary continues to hold on to his job. And I will say this before I hand over to the other person. The word on the ground is that this chief secretary is very afraid of the Secretary of Infrastructure. And there are persons who are within their camp are saying to me that the chief secretary cannot, will not, could never touch the Secretary of Infrastructure.
Wow.
And therefore, is it a situation where the tail is wagging the dog here in Tobago?
And I just want to add on, there's something interesting because this article, this Guardian article of Wednesday, October 25th, which treats with this private jet fiasco. And what caught my attention today that did not previously is the chief secretary is on record as saying, and he's quoted here as saying, the THA has not engaged any private charter. The THA has not paid any private charter. The THA will not be paying any private charter. The THA will not be engaging any such private charter, he said. And Augustine confirmed that James will not be reimbursed should he try to recoup any money related to the trip, right? That is this trip that he claimed he went out on THA's behalf. So he didn't just say the private jet. For the entire trip, he will not be reimbursed, right? If he tries to recoup. That is, if he seeks any reimbursement. And what was interesting to me, and any misconduct or conflict of interest in the arrangement to charter this flight will be identified and probed by the Integrity Commission. And then Augustine set up until 6 p.m. on Sunday. He was of the impression that his secretary, so the chief secretary don't even know where his secretary is. This is craziness. So you leave the country, you don't even know when your secretary coming back, how he coming back.
But who gave the approval at Exec Council for this?
Remember, members of the panel, after this fiasco, there was a sitting of the House. And this said Secretary of Infrastructure gave a statement in the House. And the Secretary of Infrastructure did indicate that his colleagues knew his whereabouts because he would have informed them.
So clearly somebody is misrepresenting the truth in this matter. And this is a matter I challenge the media to continue to follow, because if the Chief Secretary is saying that he will not reimburse the Secretary of Infrastructure, the question we now have to ask, and one we will file, is whether the Chief Secretary or whether the Tobago House of Assembly did in fact reimburse or pay any kind of funding back to the Secretary of Infrastructure based on this trip, because he's saying the trip, the invitation came late. The Executive Council, based on what he said here, did not have time to approve. So the Secretary just pick up and leave the island. You could understand that?
But generally speaking...
No, think about it. No, because usually you would get a covering approval or so.
And I was
so
about
the Secretary just decided he is going on this trip, that he received a late invitation. And the Chief Secretary is telling us that he is not prepared to reimburse him. So we need now to find out if any request for reimbursement came in, because remember, he didn't go alone.
He didn't go alone.
It was both him and an officer. Up to now, we have not heard who is this officer, whether it's male, whether it's female, whether... We don't know. We don't know what is the position.
Yes. We have the political leader.
Two things. Political leader, I wanted to ask before you comment. In terms of travel external to Trinidad and Tobago, is it that the Executive Council is required to approve the travel of officers, of members of the executive prior to leaving? And even if the invitation came late, as the minority leader said, there should be some covering approval to leave the country. And of course, to incur expenditure. So what is the authority upon which the secretary
So the political leader could clear that up for us.
left?
Now, I could tell you that any individuals, whether politician or public servant, leaving the jurisdiction to represent the THA, that must be sanctioned and approved by the Executive Council. So no delegation should leave here to represent the THA or to represent the island with taxpayers' money without it being approved by the Executive Council.
Correctly.
Separate and apart from that, no secretary should be leaving the island without the knowledge, at least the knowledge, of the Chief Secretary. Now, if you're going on personal business and you're leaving the island to go to Trinidad, then for manners' sake, you should tell the Chief Secretary, Chief, are off the island for a bit. If you're leaving the country, then you need to have approval from the Chief Secretary to leave the country, even on personal matters. Right? Because for you to leave the country on personal matters, you're definitely away from work. You're out of the jurisdiction. And therefore, you have to apply for some time off. And by law, the only time off that a Chief Secretary is entitled to, and the rest of the Executive Secretaries and Assistant Secretaries, are the 30 days vacation. And no secretary gets vacation without the approval of the Chief Secretary. That is how it is supposed to work, right? But of course, in this Executive Council, this is an anomalous situation where everybody does what they want. People leave without telling the Chief Secretary anything and that sort of stuff. We even have people going on trips without the Executive Council approval, coming back after spending their own money and seeking reimbursement. And I am sure that was the plan of Mr. Trevor James concerning that private jet travel, right? But going back to that private jet situation, I need the people of Tobago to understand that this is a very serious matter.
Yeah.
Because firstly, it demonstrates that we cannot trust the words of our leaders in Tobago. Well, we know a long time that the Chief Secretary is a stranger to the truth. So he's saying that at 6 p.m. the day before the Secretary got back into the country, he did not know the whereabouts of the Secretary. The Secretary went to the house and basically rubbished the Chief Secretary's claims by saying that he did inform all of his colleagues. And if I'm in that position, as much as I support Trevor James, as much as I think that he is, incompetent and all of that, I will choose to believe him over Farley. Right? So I am going with Trevor James on this one. I believe he did inform his colleagues of his whereabouts, and the Chief Secretary is lying, as usual. Right? But the more important thing, secondly, the more important thing is who paid for the trip.
Yep.
Because the Secretary told Tobago in the house that he has a wide network of family and friends.
Yes.
Why you need to include friends in that? Right? Or if it was your wife, he would have said it was his wife. If it was his brother, Max or one of the other brothers, he would have said it was his brother. If it was one of his children, he would have said it was them. If it was some other relative, he would have simply said a relative or a family member. But the Secretary said a wide network of family and friends. Right? The question I have for Mr. Trevor James is who paid for that trip? You went out on public business, you were representing Tobago, I am simply asking on behalf of the people of Tobago who paid for that private flight that is now under investigation by the Civil Aviation Authority. What form of payment was used? Was it cash? Was it credit card? Was it wire transfer? Was it kind? Was it a promise? The people of Tobago must be told more specifically than just a wide network of family and friends. We want to know who paid, because I suspect that it is a contractor who is currently engaged in doing business with the Tobago House of Assembly that may have paid for that flight. And if that is the case, then there is a possibility that a conflict of interest exists, and it is a possibility that once again, members of this administration may find themselves attracting the attention of the TTPS, not for the first time. So I hope those questions will be answered. And if they are not answered at some point in time, we will call on the Integrity Commission to launch an investigation and find out on our behalf how was that private chartered flight paid for. We want to know.
So, and could this also, this question the political leader is asking pointedly, could it be that the chief secretary also already knows the answer to this question? Why because he's in here saying, he's on record saying that this matter is one for the Integrity Commission.
Yeah.
He is on
He
record.
said that.
He said Augustine confirmed that James will not be reimbursed should he try to recoup any money related to the trip. And he said, he went on, and any misconduct or conflict of interest, and we know what conflict of interest is. And so is it that the chief secretary also is concerned?
Yes.
Or perhaps has information that perhaps a conflict of interest exists in this situation, to the point that he's saying this matter will be identified and probed by the Integrity Commission. So we perhaps also have to ask the Chief Secretary if he launched his own investigation and whether he himself is prepared to report his own Secretary of Infrastructure to the Integrity Commission, because at this point nobody had raised this question of Integrity Commission.
No, it's quite interesting.
And
that you didn't do an internal investigation before taking it to the Integrity Commission.
Exactly.
But you see, one of the things that's critical for me, looking on at this, is we talking about projects that are not completed, projects that are not happening on the island. And the constant cry of the executive is that they have no money. But these projects are projects that you identified after you did your retreat and you accepted the fact this is what you got in your allocation. You came back to the house and you identified. But what I think the information that we need going forward is, what is the cost of all of the travel outside of this private plane issue? What is the cost of the travel by this administration? Because I don't know, but maybe one of the challenges why they can't start no project and they can't do nothing and they have no money is because they're spending the money on everything else outside of doing needful projects on the island.
But
you because I'm sure we're going to get that information. I'm sure the minority leader and the minority council will ask for it in the house.
We have asked.
We have asked, but we haven't received it.
We have to go the way of an FY because
they have not answered.
Not provide the
full information.
Full disclosure.
Full information.
and that's because I am sure the travel expenses of this executive is to use our word is ginormous.
Yeah, it is. From what I'm hearing through the grapevine, is about 10 million and going. And it's because some of the travel we are not even aware.
Yeah.
Secretaries leave this space in the dark of the night, with and not just by themselves, they take companions
and say nothing,
and concubines and other people, and they leave on taxpayers' money, go out, have a good time, make absolutely no report to the people of Tobago, and they come back and sit here normal.
But minority leader, what I have recognized that is the modus operandi that is disrespectful to the people of Tobago. Is that especially the chief secretary? Whenever the chief secretary leaves, you get the notice that he has left.
He has left.
You don't get the notice that he is to leave on a particular
and compare that to our distinguished prime minister.
Yeah.
Every time our prime minister leaves to treat with the business of not even private business.
Yeah, he says before he leaves.
Briefed before. Yes. You get out, and when he returns,
he report.
Takes his time and make sure of a press conference where he reports to the people of Trinidad and Tobago as to what was discussed, what was achieved, and he opens himself for questions. And these people behave like they are emperors and lords of the land that you can't question them. They went to the World WTM, World Travel Market, where we saw one of the largest contingent in the history of Tobago attending that event. Yet they came back, they spent the longest period in the history.
Before and after.
Because they went about 3 days before and they stayed about 3 days after. And even after having a good time, they didn't even have the courtesy to tell Tobagonians what they did out there, what was achieved. What are the benefits? What could Tobagonians look forward to when it comes to tourism? From that trip, no reporting, absolute silence. And that is a trip where our chief sales maker, our chief executive officer,
and
the chief secretary and others, or we took even the chief administrator, which was curious to me because normally on such a trip, if you're kind of public servant, it's because you're going to sign deals, you're signing off on MOUs and so forth. We haven't heard one thing, not one thing.
But more than that, what we are not seeing is the benefits to the trips coming back. So yes, we understand that the trips are endless, the trips are costly. But how does those trips and excursions rebound to the benefit of the people of Tobago?
Yeah.
What they go out and see, are they bringing it back and implementing it and tailoring it to our needs? Because you have been hearing that sometimes when they go on these trips, they don't even participate fully in the conference or the conventions
that they're supposed to be attending.
So then the benefits to the people of Tobago are not being felt and seen.
Yeah. Clearly. So I mean,
because as we've accepted, and this is after this administration claimed that they will be transparent.
Yeah.
That will be more transparent.
They'll be more accountable.
That's right. One of your biggest spends so far is your travel, and to this date, we have not been able to receive a report on any major travel.
As simple as, so we would have asked the question, and we recognize that the answer that we received did not provide the full information of all the travels, because we are aware of some travels that were out in the public domain that was visibly absent from the report. And we did file a follow-up question, and to this date, we have not received a response. And if we speak to transparency and accountability, one of the things that the chief secretary would have commented on time and time, reprioritization after reprioritization, that we should come back and basically restate the estimates.
Right.
The chief secretary promised at the last reprioritization that he had it and he would present it. Up to this day, a year and a month later, we have not seen the restated budget of that last reprioritization. We have now gone into a new reprioritization, and the same thing occurs. I am not sure that the chief secretary would have quantified any of the things that he reprioritized.
Exactly. So folks, as usual, we have so much to discuss. We just moved through the division of infrastructure.
One division.
Failed.
Has won it.
The vote?
If I
No, he get 1
So
out of
there are
6.
so there are
pass
6
or fail.
items.
I not even.
If you have 1 out of 6,
Right, so
according to the
fail.
minority leader remedial class.
I not even going to the polls.
So we want to go quickly to the Division of Education, Research and Technology. I know this is a very interesting one. Quite a lot done in terms of what was said, but the one I think would stand out the most is 65 million spent on school repairs in the time so far. And what is the grade for this? What you all think took place here? Any accountability? I know Minority Leader raised concerns about the procurement process. So what are we doing here?
What is interesting with this Division of Infrastructure, and I know one of the things they boast about is their school repair program, the most ever spent on school repairs in the history of Tobago, 40 million, and then they spend another 25 million. But after all is said and done, the schools remain in disrepair. It is the first time we have had school repair program where after the repair has been done, you still have schools being kept shut. Schools have to, some schools are only being open because of the commitment of the teachers. In one situation, we saw a video in Scarborough Sec where rain falling and blowing in on the children, no door. So imagine you had a school repair program and in one of the rooms, they didn't even care to fix the door. But yet you're boasting that you spent over $65 million. And so for me, pre-construction works to Scarborough Sec. We know where the PNM was with this Scarborough Sec project. Lands were already allocated, and they were already going to the point of discussions for financing. And then the next stage would have been the designs and awarding the contract. This administration come in after 2 years with a Secretary of Education who was a teacher at Scarborough Sec. You would think she would have some extra passion to see this through. And yet 2 years later, you have the PTA in arms. You have the tutor in arms, the tutor rep, and all saying he don't know what's going on. In fact, it's just because persons just on the cusp of school opening, they had to rush and do some remit just to save face and embarrassment because the parents were planning to protest.
Yeah.
And it is the most bacchanal and confusion you have ever had at that Scarborough Sec under this Secretary of Education. Yet you're seeing here, they said they were going to start pre-construction works. Nothing have started.
Nothing.
Teaching a subject minority leader and being an administrator of a division is two completely different ball games. You could teach a subject, but if you've never been responsible for the administration of anything, you were not even the administrator of a school, so you never managed the school.
Yeah.
So if you never managed anything and you've now been placed into the position of managing millions and billions of dollars, how you get lost, especially if you are the place where you don't want to take advice.
And let me just throw this in with you all, because remember, the division, yes, but this division also had the tutor head as the tutor head, as the assistant secretary, who knew everything that should have been done when he was tutor head.
I just came down the list and I saw the implementation of PAN in the classroom.
Yes,
and interestingly, I was in a particular place a couple Fridays ago, and a gentleman was crying out to me, that the pans and them for the school still stack up inside our storeroom. They have not taken the pans, and if you looked at one of the tongue beatings, you saw one of the ace tuners, one of the ace tuners on the island crying out that he spent his own money to prepare these instruments, and he still has the instruments on his hands. And I was at the said location an evening, and one of the gentlemen pointed out to me, he said, "Mr. Is up the pan and them still. Look all the pan and them there for the
truck
school.
them in her gas too.
Look all the pan and them there.
They're not gas to go
and you have here, and this was to be implemented by when? By November of 2022.
Yeah.
We November 2023.
23.
The
No, we in
pans are
December,
available.
we are in December.
We in December.
Sorry, we in December. The pans are available. It's not the pans that are
Mhm.
available. So
Yeah.
what's the problem?
Are there tutors?
Hmm.
And again, and we recognize that things seem to be done haphazardly. So we have all the grand ideas, but there's no plan. But what's the overarching plan to implement all these things? So we wake up one morning and we decide, you know what, planning schools.
The way you campaign without a plan, minority councillors. If you campaign without a plan, how you campaign is how you govern. If you campaign without a plan, you're going to govern without a plan.
Well, you will hope that the reality of office will shock you into.
The political leader want to jump in on a comment.
Now, education is a very critical sector on the island. And one of the primary responsibilities of the Division of Education is to ensure that at least, and it's going to be one of the things that is within your control. So while you can't control the individual teachers and how they teach and those kinds of things, what is within your control is to ensure at least that the schools are ready and in a state of fitness for accommodating both teachers and students. And this particular secretary has failed miserably where that is concerned. I have not seen any sign of competence from this secretary at all, maybe except when it comes to social media. Very competent at that. And don't get me wrong, everybody posts on social media, everybody like to take out the pics and you put on your filters and you post on social media and that kind of stuff. But it can't be a situation that critical aspects of the job are not being done, but the management of your PR and the management of your social media is up to par. So I want to point to three very disappointing situations over the last 2 years. You all remember a situation where Light and Life Pentecostal High School had some challenges with the readiness of the school. And the school board decided that they were going to dismiss the school and send home the students. And instead of taking responsibility, we saw the secretary attempting to throw the blame. As usual, they don't take responsibility for anything. So they attempted to blame the school and the board, saying that the school board supposed to deal with those matters, when in fact, based on the relationship that institution had with the THA over many years, it is the Tobago House of Assembly that takes such responsibilities on. When that wasn't enough, she threatened to audit Pastor Frank and the school board. You all remember that?
Yes.
Right? And when I thought, perhaps that was just youthful exuberance, that was just inexperience, that was actually the smoke before the fire. Because later that same year, we had a situation where one of our premier secondary schools on the island, Scarborough Sec, after guarantees were given by the secretary that all schools would have been ready for the opening of school, a letter came out afterwards, because I was hearing all along, and I'm sure you were hearing it as well, minority leader and minority council and others, that Scarborough Sec was not going to be ready.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody knew that.
But yet, the secretary, everybody except the secretary knew this. And then until the day before school opened, a memo or press release comes from the secretary herself, from that division, saying that Scarborough Sec will be closed for a further 2 weeks. And of course, I think the 2 weeks turned into almost 2 months that the school remained closed. And even when students were allowed back onto the compound, there were still several issues. Students getting wet on the compound. We saw recently where a teacher had to do a video to highlight the fact that a door wasn't fixed and rain blowing in and wetting the children. Come on. It's a basic responsibility of the Division of Education to ensure that at least the schools are in a state of acceptable standards. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. Then following that, the secretary still did not learn. We had now this situation in the last occasion when school was supposed to be reopened with St. Andrew's Anglican School, where again the effort now was to blame the principal and throw the principal under the bus rather than take responsibility. That school remained closed for I think 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm aware that a CPEP 2 had to run in the day before school was reopened to remove the rubbish on the compound and cut the bush and all those kinds of things. But yet they are boasting of having a school repair program where they spent the most money. So you spend the most money, yet the school repair program is the least effective than any previous school repair program. And of course, right, several other areas of responsibility fall under the Division of Education. And I'm saying that division has failed miserably. That secretary has failed miserably. I must admit that maybe she did a little bit better than the Division of Infrastructure than Trevor James. But that secretary must also get a grade F when it comes to discharging her responsibilities as Secretary of Education. To be fair to her, when it comes to PR, and perhaps when it comes to showing up in her electoral district, she will get a passing grade where that is concerned. But as Secretary of Education, she is and she has been, and I suspect that she will continue to be, a complete failure to the people of Tobago and to our children. And the last thing I will mention concerning that is that things have become so bad. I attended a PTA meeting at my children's primary school. And you know, normally the teachers, now schools love to love to ask parents for money, right? But normally they will ask parents for money to do little events like the school fair or some Christmas event or some Easter event, or sometimes they want to give to needy people or they want to give back to the seniors in the community. I have absolutely no problems, right? Of course, parents must support schools in this way. But the interesting thing is that schools are now asking for donations to paint classrooms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. So teachers and schools are no longer asking for money just to do the things that I described previously. They are asking for money to do things that are the responsibility of the Division of Education.
Yeah.
So you're not even, and I mean, for it to come to that, it has to mean that the state of the classroom is very bad. Even over the previous dispensation of the school repair program, a contractor was on site and did not even complete the work.
Yeah.
I saw for myself where a particular area of the school could not be utilized. A very important area, which is the school canteen, could not be utilized. But yet they are finding money to travel. They are finding money to go to England and London and Jamaica without giving account to the people of Tobago. They are finding money to give their friends from Trinidad millions of dollars to build unnecessary roads. They are finding money to give their friends and their family to live lavishly. They are finding money to pay ridiculous salaries to people who are absolutely, I don't even want to call them square pegs in round holes because the hole's still ain't full. At least if you put a square peg At least if you put a square peg, there will be something in the hole. Exorbitant salaries, but no money to ensure that our students, the future of this island, the future of this nation, have access to a safe environment in a space that they occupy from 8 in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Absolute failure.
And quite rightly said, political leader. So we, just to close off education, I want to just read something that was said here with respect to they had said the division is seeking to align, and I'm sure all of us will remember this, the school curriculum with a Tobago-centric or Tobago-specific cultural and historical agenda. This was since last year, and then it was repeated.
That was one of the first things that they said in their mandates.
As of October 2023, what was said by the division is that they are at the stage whereby they are inviting persons from the public to nominate persons to be a part of that committee that will formalize the actual curriculum.
Yeah, but what is the Tobago-centric curriculum, and how does it fall in as part of the national curriculum?
Tell CXC to change the exam as well.
But what really is the Tobago-centric
After 2 years
curriculum?
and 2 committees, what is it? So pass or fail?
No, well, clearly, as political leaders said, when it comes to the operations of the Division of Education, considering that you have failed to treat with the school repair program in the way it should be done, you have failed to do the interventions that we could see an improvement in our SCA performance. You have failed to treat with even the infrastructural issues, such as you said you were going to construct this special needs school and all of that. You have failed. And that's why we are doing this assessment by measurement. It's not about emotions, it's not about who you like or who you don't like, but it's by their own words. They outlining their priorities, we looking at the priorities and simply seeing whether it was implemented or not, and assigning a mark. And based on that, based on what the secretary said she was going to do, she got basically 1 out of 5, because I think the digital teaching learning spaces for both teachers and at Scarborough Secondary School. They said upgrades to the physical infrastructure at Scarborough Secondary School was completed. So 1 out of 5, basically. So failure.
So big F. So very quickly, we want to run into the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Special division.
Well, this is so disappointing for me, because if it's one person, I think Tobagonians all felt was prepared and
to deliver,
and know how
to do this job and to fix what they believe was wrong in a sector, was this Secretary of Health, because we knew her as a busybody during the COVID. On every station, on every matter, seemed to have the answer.
Every issue
was
related
pronouncing
to
on every issue that was health related. And she gave us the impression that once she sat in the chair, all our challenges within the health sector would be fixed. And to date, the people of Tobago have been saying to me that they are quite disappointed. In fact, she herself has seemed to kind of gone in a little canoe. She's closed up shop. You can't get on to her. Up to yesterday, I was messaging her about an important situation. You can't even get a reply from her. So it seemed like she has thrown her hands up. Like, remember the message she had given to give her a break? Ease she up. So she seems like she has gone off into the wilderness. And all the things she promised. Up to now, Roxborough, we gave them a brand new hospital.
Facility.
All they had to do now was hire the people to
operationalize
it. 2 years later, still cannot be operationalized as a full-fledged hospital. A lot of the services still outstanding. We asked questions. She gave us the impression it would be done by now. up to now still outstanding. She talked about even the mosquitoes were afraid of her because they heard that she was going to do special research. Well, the mosquitoes zooming wrong and zooming wrong. Very happy because up to now, nothing has changed.
Nothing.
Public cemeteries, we know when I look around, the public cemeteries require upgrades. Some of them need proper road access and toilet facilities. They have not seen, they said that would have been a priority, but yet nothing has been done. Incinerator, they prefer to give somebody from Trinidad millions of dollars rather than treat with the current challenges we have with the incinerator. They said they were going to purchase, no incinerator purchase. Well, they'll talk about food support and social support.
That crashed.
She said she was giving the people them.
That crashed.
You were getting digital technology, so maybe some fancy gadget or something you were going to get. So it will be easy to access the funding. You can't even get approval.
Yeah.
You can't even get a voucher.
Pretty hard plastic.
You can't even get the card, much less. So fail.
You know one of the areas though, and based on the projects, it's all failure. Based on the projects that they have listed. But one of the areas that I would love to commend the division for is using the facility at Roxborough for the eye surgeries,
cataract.
to continue the cataract surgery.
Yes.
And I think a lot of our citizens have benefited from a modern facility. They could have cost it all they want, but it was a modern facility built and being paid for by the central government.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that we fail to realize. We're costing the central government that they don't do this, they do. But that hospital is being paid for by the central government. And citizens of Tobago, not only Tobago, but citizens of Trinidad as well, are benefiting from the cataract surgeries. And I want to compliment the staff at that hospital for continuing the great work.
Dr. Duke and his
team. I want to really compliment the staff.
Yeah.
So that's not on the list,
but noted.
You get one. You get one. I will put that in so that you don't look that bad. So you get one.
What is so disingenuous is that secretary was on this morning saying that she will not call that facility a hospital.
Wow.
She would not call it a hospital.
She would not call
it a hospital. The reason why she refuses to call it a hospital because she refuses to roll it out of the hospital.
She has failed
because the
infrastructure is there for it to be called a hospital. That is what it is. Up to this point, you cannot have stay over patients. Why? And not only that, you're not operationalizing Roxborough fully. But Scarborough is falling, Signal Hill is falling apart.
But what is interesting is that in putting up for the allocation, they basically put
operationalization
of the hospital, and they get the funding to hire the people, yet they are not hiring the people.
She says a process.
There's no process. My information is persons have been identified for the positions, and it is their inability to provide the resources to have the persons onboarded. In fact, some of them are Tobago born and bred, who Tobago would have invested in and are willing to return to provide the services to help the people, firstly of the East and the people of Tobago.
But I do understand.
And why would you deny it?
Yeah, because I do understand why to this point you are unable to fully operationalize the facility, the hospital. When was this facility opened? When was it opened? Not in
2021.
2021 it was open.
Yeah.
Yes, we had a change of administration, and it will take you time to get your foot in. I accept the fact that you hired a medical director to get the place operational. I think Dr. Duke is doing a magnificent job to bring the level of service that's there. But what is preventing you from having the facility open 24/7?
Senator Hislop, the secretary had the opportunity to share what she has done and what she intends to do at the budgetary allocation. The secretary decided to focus on the minority leaders' presentation, talk about the autonomy bill and why they did not support the autonomy bill, instead of telling Tobagonians and reporting and accounting to Tobagonians what she did with the funds that were allocated to her division and what she intends to do with the reallocated
And you're there worried about me being a man of God and all that nonsense.
There's
Do your job.
Not one word about her division
because
and what
if
she
you
intends to
listen
do.
to them, they give Tobagonians the impression that they do not have, or the central government is not giving
providing them.
not
That's where the
providing
issue
them
is.
with the funding, the money to do these things that they say they want to do.
These things they can manage it.
If you look at the line item for operationalizing the Roxborough Hospital is properly allocated.
Yep.
And the question is, what are they doing with that money that has been a portion allocated to operationalize
Minority Leader, even if the allocation is insufficient, that is the purpose of the reallocation.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
you sit among your team, you determine what your priorities are, you determine what the resources are to implement your priorities, and you can so reallocate without going back to the parliament. So you can do that with your allocation, even if the line item for that allocation is insufficient. So what is the purpose of the 2-day retreat?
The government built the fire station.
Correct.
It's operational. The police station is operational. The only thing that is not fully operational in Roxborough is what the THA is responsible for.
Yeah.
Which is the hospital, you know. All the other entities that were built out by the central government are fully operational.
And it is a disservice to the people of the East.
Of course
because
it is.
the people of the East been waiting for so long for something like this. And when you finally get it, the people who told you that they can fix it are unable to even operationalize a 24-hour hospital so that so that people of the East can. I know persons who still have to leave the East to come down to town.
Remember that lady who was pregnant?
Yes.
Emergency, needed to deliver, went to Roxborough and had to come to Scarborough. And she was living in Roxborough.
But what the government build the hospital for?
That was the purpose.
What
that people birth paper could register now Roxborough.
But the MP always says that she lobbied for this thing.
Yeah.
Because she said she don't want another Roxborough country mother. A mother from
a child on the road.
To make a child on the road.
Yeah.
Now you still have in 2023, after the hospital was built and handed over in 2021, we still have people who have to come down the road to get birth.
Yeah.
So I guess F.
Failure.
Let's move quickly. We already out of time, but we want to complete some more. Let's go straight to settlements now.
We had 2 hours.
Well, I don't know if the we still have quite a bit, eh? We should get that. Division of settlements.
Rate and then
just rate.
Summarize.
Yeah.
Tell us, division of settlements. The Watch Me Work crew.
We watching. The lady who was the physically impaired.
Good question, Minority Council.
No,
where is the
because
lady? Did she get back the house?
Well, she eventually moved in.
She moved in.
Yeah, a couple months after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear that she moved into the
what was key is that they tried to deny that they took back the keys from her.
All right, so we could give him a point for that. No, it's a good thing. And I think a couple people got like Lalonde.
Ronnie Call. Mother. Yeah.
And I although it wasn't as a priority, I like the initiative with Habitat for Humanity.
Yes, correct.
So
yeah.
I'll give him
2.
2 out of.
Only give the Watch Me Work man 2
out of 10. It's still a failing.
Other things, I think. Let me see. I think I took. But I wasn't sure they were to
some street lights. The street lighting program.
Yeah.
We saw some of those. 1, 2.
Anything happening?
But Delphi still we still mining cows in Adelphi.
Yeah.
Technical studies to be completed by the end of the quarter. That is what's going on in Adelphi.
So
you still
I
studying.
saw Rennie Quao here, and so
Technical
we gave him
studies?
that already.
Yeah, technical.
This is what, based on what I've seen here, in Adelphi housing development, the RFP will be issued in Q2, with a minimum of 100 units in Miss. No, this is supposed to be 24th November.
Yeah, nothing. So when it comes to the housing, the various housing programs identified.
That's a watch.
Complete
That's
failure.
a watch me talk to.
What was also interesting is this division, and is something we have to follow, is whether they had paid any money. So you saw that news item recently. This company that he was trumping as the company,
the one that was caught in fraud.
That was in this fraud arrangement. And the question has to be is whether any payments were made in advance or whatever contract, because...
But were they formally engaged? They had engaged a company?
Or whether they did any works, because what we knew he was saying is that some of the houses that they did were in partnership with these type of companies. These companies who were doing the prefab and so.
Well, people say, show me who your friends are. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
And that is that is very interesting.
In Bacalet, a minimum of 75 units will be constructed. And this should have been done by the 24th of November.
It's failure.
Well,
so
300, I feel that a maximum of 300 units.
Failure.
And the thing
what
about
I
it is when
found
we
funny
point
is
out,
that he was laughing the PNM who actually built houses. You had Roxborough, you have housing in Castara, you have housing in Plymouth,
Adelphi,
you have housing, and then you have the landlots out in Corlan and so forth. Yet you build one house and you laughing people that at least build some houses.
But minority leader, more than that, we would have done a lot of work in preparing the lands for the construction. And so all the places that he wants to build, if the PNM didn't acquire, did the groundwork, they could not have now gone to try and build.
Correct, because think about
these number of homes.
Creating the land bank in the first instance.
Of course, yes. And the acquisition takes a long process.
Central government involvement in addition to the allocation that the THA got.
Yes.
So Corlan and all of these things were bought outside of the THA's allocation by a central government.
And that is where the collaboration
that's right. Friendship, all of these places. That's exactly.
We are looking at the Secretary of Settlements work. What are you seeing?
Not failure.
Failure.
And you see a completed project.
I want to move quickly to our favorite, the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation.
Oh, well, food security didn't complete nothing.
Nothing completed there.
No Kendall Farm School, no Mega Farm, no root and tuber crop planting, agroforestry and upper watershed management, urban forestry.
Nothing.
Those are the fancy.
To try and confuse the people.
Yet nothing. Failure.
Total failure. So back to tourism. The tourism secretary, a lot in the news these days.
Oh, was it the jetty? I don't know. The jetty.
Completion of Manta Lodge upgrades to Strawberry Beach facility.
Nothing. Pigeon Point infrastructure. The jetty was refurbished. Okay.
Yes, reforestation.
The hut
restoration.
At the jetty was refurbished.
The hut?
Not the jetty.
Yeah, the jetty is still.
The hut at the jetty.
Okay. So they fixed the hut and not the jetty?
Not the jetty.
Yeah. All right. So when we're going to fix the jetty, what are we doing with the hut? I just asked you.
Restoration of historic sites. Ongoing.
Some started.
Some started. Signage. Ongoing. New flights.
Zero.
We see our intention. Establishment of a tourism workers registry. Where's that really?
Well, that would have started under the PNM because we had to pull the workers in terms of when we wanted to do that payment. Remember, there was a payment we had agreed that we would give to workers who were affected
in the industry. Yes.
So that registry, I know, was started.
So that was started already.
Post-COVID,
So it's still unfinished. Fill some vacancies. A registry file tracking system.
The CEO of the Tobago Tourism Agency.
That apparently is not a vacancy.
Hasn't been hired yet?
No. After the secretary would have indicated that May of this year, the onboarding should be complete.
They hired and unhired.
Yeah.
Hired and unhired?
Yeah. Because clearly we were told that the Executive Council approved the recommendation of the of the board, and then we were then told that the executive council didn't approve. So I have to say they hired and unhired.
Okay. we have a comment. The political leader want to comment.
Yeah.
Bring him in, guys.
Yes, I've been trying to get right, but I guess you weren't hearing me.
No, we weren't.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go back to health, and I really want to congratulate the Secretary of Health for not firing the PNM doctors, because in every other division they are targeting people whom they perceive to be PNM, including people in the private sector. They are targeting them for lynching and for victimization. But interestingly, the doctors at the hospital, most of whom the PNM trained, most of whom the PNM supported through school, most of whom worked under the PNM administration for many, many years, most of whom, of course, performed extremely well, went beyond the call of duty for many years, working in our healthcare facilities across the island. Not one of them were fired, So at least the secretary recognizes the importance of doctors, and it's not a situation where you could fire the PNM doctors and bring in your friends and family. So at least for recognizing that, I want to give the Secretary of Health some credit, right? But apart from that, I want to say that I am particularly disappointed in that secretary, because when she was out of office, she came across and she sold herself as someone who was very intellectual, someone who was very knowledgeable. She sold herself as an expert of healthcare, right? And yes, the lady has a PhD. I'm not sure in what. I know it's something to do with healthcare. And therefore, I respect that. However, when the rubber hits the road, there's nothing to show in the healthcare sector that really points to the competence or the knowledge that the secretary claims that she has about the sector. Right? You all went into a very long discussion about Roxborough Hospital, the fact that the PNM delivered a hospital, opened the hospital, a hospital, right? I don't care what ridiculousness she wishes to say to the people of Tobago to find excuses. It is a hospital. Yes, it is a small hospital, but the facility, based on the services that it should be providing,
It's a hospital.
based on what was designed and built by the PNM, it qualifies to be a hospital, and it is a hospital. If they want to operate it like a health center, then that is their prerogative, right? But interestingly, notwithstanding all the knowledge and all the capacity the lady claimed to have when she was outside, because I remember every Monday morning she was in the media telling me as chief secretary, telling the then health secretary, Mrs. Davidson Celestine, how we should manage the pandemic, what we should do, what we should not do. Every Monday morning she was finding fault with the management of the pandemic. And now here she is as Secretary of Health, and I cannot identify any significant contribution from this lady. The Roxborough Hospital, after 2 years, has not been properly commissioned to deliver all the services it can deliver to the people of Tobago. The exact problem we built that hospital to fix, and you all discussed it earlier, unfortunately I couldn't get in, where the Member of Parliament for Tobago East pledged to the people of Tobago that never again will a mother have to leave Tobago East to come to the hospital in Signal Hill to give birth. That hospital, based on what you all said earlier, is still not ready to facilitate that basic service.
Right.
And on top of that, we have now the social programs, the social support systems have totally fallen apart. I won't say it publicly, but every single day, somebody reaches out to me asking for support with food items. Some people in trouble cannot pay their rent. And I will talk about that last, the state of the Tobago economy in closing. I will talk about that. But a number of people are in trouble. And when I ask the question, have you gone to the division? Have you gone to the area representative? The response is yes, and I was ignored. Yes, I went to the division, and they tell me I don't qualify for any support. Yes, I went to the division, they promised to call me, the advisor to the secretary promised to call me, and up to now I ain't get a call. Yes, I went to the division, and they told me blatantly they don't have any food cards available. But interestingly, they wanted to kill us during a pandemic for distributing food cards to needy persons.
Yeah.
They operated as if that was criminal and as if that was a disservice to the people of Tobago. Now here we are, people who are in need of support, Tobagonians who are in need of support. They cannot get a food card, they cannot get a phone call, they cannot get a meeting with the secretary, they cannot get a response from the area representative. They are simply left there out in the cold to fend for themselves. Right? So of course, that secretary is also a failure. Right? And tonight I am not going to ease her up.
Nice. Thanks a lot, political leader, again helping bring it into perspective. Folks, we out of time. we've been out of time a while. The technical crew have been indicating singing in mayors. Yeah. We have to continue this next week. Mm-hmm. We have to find a way to continue because there's so much to preside over and we've been skimming and just giving Fs and Fs and Fs. But folks, next week we're going to continue with the process and we're going to continue to judge the administration, not based on what we say, but based on what they would have said to the people of Tobago. And I want to make that clear again for persons. The information that is being provided here is what has come from the administration.
And what we'll do is leave it at the end for our loyal viewers to also have their say on the chat. Give their grade as well. So and then we'll tabulate and give it as the people voted. The people's choice.
So folks, get yourselves ready to vote next week, Tuesday. Keep your index finger, make sure it clean.
And we know the legitimate voter. We know the robos that may come out next week to vote.
All in different languages.
Yeah.
All the Korean and Chinese.
Yeah. We should be familiar with them. So folks, we want to thank you all for staying with us. We are out of time and we are heading out of studio. Stay safe, put God first, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.